into the shul and even has a chelik on Gemara Sukkah. If you want to check it out, he has a shtickle. His wife's grandfather. We're starting to the Mishnah Chav Beis Amud Aleph, but we're going to chazer Chav Aleph Amud Beis as well. The Mishnah over there. So the Mishnah Chav Aleph Amud Beis on the bottom. Asen v'Sukkah Sedom's ready. Avada. Shua just said we did already, but it doesn't. It never stopped us. It doesn't make a difference. So the Mishnah says, "Asenu sukkase bekari amita." Somebody who supports his schach of his sukkah with the legs of a bed, kshera. The law says it's kosher. Rabbi Yehuda says, "In eina yichel lamim b'fnei atzma," if it can't stand without being supported by the legs of his bed, psula, it's possible. My time, and Rabbi Yehuda, what says Rabbi Yehuda? Tanakama makes a lot of sense. Pligi bar b'zeir, Rabbi Abba bar Mamel. It's machlok is zeir and Rabbi bar Mamel. One says that mita moves around, it doesn't have a kvias, and Rabbi Yehuda needs diras kevabina, needs to be more fixed. And one says it's because you're supporting the schach with something that could receive tumah, and that is a problem. Not only the schach has to be something that's not mekabel tumah, but even the maimid, what supports it. My benayu, what's the difference between these two shitas? Kegoyim, for example, nothing to do with the bed. Shanaz shbud and shabarzel, a guy put down iron sticks into the ground. V'sikach aleim and put a schach on top of them. L'man darmu fishin, the keva, according to the one that says there's no keva, hareish keva. That's exact. This case has keva. There's no bed here. It's just a regular good sukkah. Uman darmu neish mamida b'davar mekabel tumah. The one that says you're supporting it with something that's mekabel tumah. Harei mamida b'davar mekabel tumah. Metal, even when it's just a stick, is mekabel tumah. So you can have a problem in this case. Fine. Amar Abaye says, let me tell you something about Rabbi Yehuda. Lo yishanu ela samach. And Rabbi Yehuda says it's a problem if it can't stand by itself. It's only when it's being supported. Al sikech al gavamita. If you put it on top of some wooden support system above the bed, kshera, that would be kosher. My time, what's the reason? Laman damer, according to one that says the fishin lekeva reish lekeva. It has a keva. It's not relying on the bed. It's relying on these sticks made out of wood. The one that says you're supporting with something that's mekabel tumah, over here we're using wood, we're not using metal, so it's not mekabel tumah, and therefore it's fine. Okay, Mishnah Chav Beis Amud Aleph. So this Mishnah is going to be talking about how much schach do you need to put on your sukkah. Right? You make the 4 walls, whatever amount of walls you need, and now you want ahead and put your schach on. How thick does schach have to be? A little bit of schach, a lot of schach. What is the thickness that's needed for schach? And the Mishnah is going to have a couple of cases here. Says the Mishnah, Sukkah hamiduvlelas. A sukkah that's miduvlelas. What does that word mean? I have no clue. I mean, I know already because I prepared the shir, but looking at this Mishnah, I have no clue what it means. Sukkah hamiduvlelas. It's a very strange word. And it's going to be a machlekes in the Gemara what that word means. Unclear. So we're going to leave it unclear. Sukkah hamiduvlelas. V'shetzilasa meruba mechamasa. There's a sukkah whose shade is more than its sunlight. Kshera, it is kosher. Now, to read that line again, it's unclear, and it's going to be a machlokes in the Gemara. Is this 2 cases or 1 case? Is it sukkah hamiduvlelas, and I don't know what that means yet, and another case where the tzila, the shade, is more than the sunlight? Both those cases are kosher. That's option 1. Or option 2 is going to be, is this one large case? Sukkah hamiduvlelas, I don't know what that word means. And the sukkah is a case of tzilasa mechamasa, where the shade is more than the sunlight, kshera. We're going to learn more about this Gemara, in the Gemara, about what this case of the Mishnah is. But al kapanim, one case, part of it is clear. The shade has to be more than the sunlight. That's what it seems like. The shetzilasa meruba mechamasa, if there's more shade than sunlight, it is kosher. Then the Mishnah goes on to say, Hamauva kimin bias. Let's say a guy puts on a schach that's so thick. It's so thick, like a house. Kimin means like a type of house. Hamauva, it's so thick, kimin bias. Even though the stars, you look up, you're in the sukkah, you look up in the schach, you can't see any stars. Halacha is kshera, it's going to be kosher. Take a look in the back, in the pictures, just to get this case, to see it, the picture. It's page Lamed in the back, and it's picture number Chaf. Hamauba kimin bayis. This guy puts on a ton of schach. Huge amount. It looks like a house. Again, we're so used to our houses having like real roofs, while sukkahs are so, posh that they're different. But back then, I know what their houses looked like. So this guy in picture Chav, really, really thick house. The Mishnah says that's fine, it's kosher. There's no problem. Okay? We're going to get to the Sukkah Meduvla. I'm not going to look at those pictures yet because the Gemara is going to discuss them. So far we got in the Mishnah is that as long as there's more shade than sun, it's kosher. I know what Meduvlalis means. And we also know if it's extremely thick, that's also okay. Okay? Fine. Says the Gemara, my Meduvlalis. What does this word Meduvlalis mean? Amar Rav, says Rav, Sukkah Aniyah. The word Meduvlalis means it's a Sukkah Aniyah. What does Aniyah mean? Aniyah means poor. It is a sukkah that has a very poor amount of schach. Very shvach. You walk inside the guy's sukkah, it's like you're going to get a little bit more branches. That type of sukkah, like such a meager amount of schach. That is what the word sukkah meduvelis means. We'll see how he learns the whole ratio of the Mishnah. We're just teaching what the word sukkah meduvelis means. He said it means a poor, meager schach sukkah. That's what it means. Ushmul Amar, Shmuel says, very funny case. Kana oila v'kana yored. One read up and one read down. That's what a sukkah meduvelis means. Whoa, what does that mean? One read up and one read down. You got to turn to the back. You got to see the picture because you're not going to believe it until you see it. It is on page Lamed, picture Yotes. It's a really strange sukkah. It's unbelievable how they thought of these things. Look at picture Yotes. You got panels. You got these reeds. The Gemara calls it reeds. It could be wood or whatever it is, but it's a type of panel. You have these reeds on the sukkah, and if you look, the up and down ones, they alternate. They're not all covering the same spots. Do you see that? Where every top one is, there's nothing underneath. Where every bottom one is, there's nothing on top. One reed up, one reed down. One reed up, one reed down. Good? Very strange sukkah. He built an attachment on top to make it like this. And that is a sukkah hamiduvlalis. Okay, the Gemara is going to now go elaborate how they're going to learn the Mishnah now. So the Gemara says, Rav Tani Chada. Rav taught the ratio of the Mishnah as being one case. Rav Tani Chada. He taught the Mishnah as one, the ratio. Ushmuel Tani Tarti. Shmuel Tani taught Tarti, that the Mishnah is actually referring to two cases. And the Gemara elaborates on that. How do you explain the Mishnah? Rav Tani Chada. Rav taught that the Mishnah is one case, and here we go. Start the Mishnah. Sukkah meduvlalas. You have a sukkah that's meduvlalas, and he sticks in to explain my meduvlalas. What does the word meduvlalas mean? Miduldelas. It means poor. The word dal, the sherish of miduldelas is dal. So the word miduvlalas, although there's a bays inside, I don't know why there's a bays. I'm not a diktik person. But miduvlalis means a poor, meager schach sukkah. That's what miduvlalis means. So you have a sukkah that has a very poor amount of schach. Shetzilasa meruba mechamasa, but its shade is more than its sunlight. So even though it's shvach, it still has more shade than sunlight. The Mishnah says ksheira. So according to Rav, the ratio of the Mishnah is one simple case. Why the Mishnah has to elaborate so much to explain this case is a little bit of a question. But according to Rav, it's one case. And I'm just looking at the words of the Mishnah itself to read it in the Mishnah. Sukkah hamiduvlelas, a sukkah that is a poor amount of schach. V'shetzilasa merub mechamasa. But however, its shade is still larger than its sunlight. Ksheira, it's kosher. So the vav there means and in the same case. And however, but it still is that its shade is more than its sunlight, is kosher. That is how Rav learns the Mishnah. Says the Maravaiter, Ushmuel Tani Tarti. However, Shmuel taught the Mishnah as referring to two cases. And he explains, my meduvlelas. What does this word meduvlelas mean? Mivulbelas. A lashon of bilbul. Bilbul means mixed up. It's a mixed up sukkah. What does mixed up mean? Kana oiled, one read up, one read down. One read up, one read down. That is a mixed up sukkah. That is a very confusing, mixed up sukkah. Why would you do one up, one down, alternating? But that is the case. And he explains the Mishnah now. The Tartik Tani. The Mishnah is telling you two cases. Sukkah mevubeles, if you have a sukkah that's mixed up, one down, one up, one down, ksheira, it's kosher. And another case is vishetzilasa, merubah mechamasa, if you have a sukkah that's schach, its shade is more than its sunlight, ksheira, it's kosher. So we have a Mishnah here. I'll read in the words of the Mishnah again for Shmuel now. Sukkah meduvlalas, that's one case. A sukkah that has alternating schach, one up, one down. And also you have a case, vishetzilasa beru mechamasa, where its shade is larger than its sunlight, ksheira, it's kosher. According to Rav, it's one case. According to Shmuel, it's two cases. Just to discuss this Gemara outside a little bit, according to Rav, the chiddush of the Reisha of the Mishnah is one thing only. You walk into a sukkah and you're like, this guy has no schach, it's fine. All he needs is that there's more schach, that there's more shade than sunlight. That's all. You have that kosher. That is the whole chiddush of the Reisha. It's telling to us how much schach you need. Good?
Now,
Fine.
Weird lesson to use.
Just say one thing. If
If you have more shade than sun, you're usually not going to walk into be like, yeah.
Right. I guess, I don't know how much it takes to make it more, we're like so used to just putting on a lot of schach. It might be that if you have just a drop more shade than sunlight, it can still look pretty meager. But I want to just go, yeah.
From the schach, right?
What?
The shade has to be from the schach?
The shades from the schach, yeah. And just one thing also, I'm not getting into the sugya. We're not talking about where there's major gaps that are 3 tvachim large. Because once you get into that sugya, larger than 3 tvachim, you're running into a lot of different problems. And it's not our sugya. So there's no serious gaps. There's no crazy gaps. There's a lot of air pockets of no schach. But there's no wide gap of 3 tvachim. 3 tvachim is like three of my fists. Nothing like that. So just a lot of like circular gaps in the schach. But the main thing is, he has more schach, he has more shade than sun, you're good. That's Rav's case.
What if it was thick schach, but more sun than shade?
It was thick schach, but more, is that possible?
Good schach.
It's telling you one thing. You have more shade than sunlight, you're good. Okay? Shmuel comes along and says, there's two cases here. The first case is the kana oila and the kana yored. This is a very strange case. One read up, one read down. Technically, if you have such a sukkah, there's going to be more sun than shade. Because when the sun shines from different ways, there's going to be more sun because there's not enough shade blocking it because it's alternating.
Depending on the time of day.
Yeah, it does depend on the time of day, correct. And they discuss this a little bit. But overall, for a large part of the day, if the sun's right overhead, it won't make a difference. That's true. But a lot of the time, technically, this is a type of sukkah that there's going to be a lot more sun coming in than shade. So why is it good? So the reason why it's good according to Shmuel is that as long as in din, this is very interesting, as long as in din, this is the type of roof that officially has more shade than sun, that even though it's one up and one down, we look at it, we view it as if they're all on the same level, which means technically there's more sun than shade. But in halacha, because they're not so far apart, and you look up, every single part has shade technically, one up, one down, that is considered a schach that has more shade than sunlight, even though you look at the floor and it doesn't. It just made it in a funny way, but you technically have a full covered roof in a very strange way. So therefore, according to Shmuel, in case one, you look at the floor, there's a lot more sun than shade. However, technically you look up, every single part has shade. Every single part. It's just strange how it was done. That is the first case of Shmuel, and it's kosher. His second case, he agrees to Rav. It's a different case. You come in, not so much sunlight. As long as you have more shade than sunlight, you're good. That is the two cases of Shmuel. So it comes out, Rav and Shmuel do not even argue with each other. Rav's case Shmuel also has. According to Shmuel, it's the second case. Silasa merubah mechamasa. And Rav says it's the same thing as sukkah meduvlalas. It's the same thing. Shmuel agrees to that. Rav agrees to that. Shmuel has a new case that sukkah meduvlalas is this interesting kana oila, kana yored. Rav might agree to that. Rav doesn't talk about it. Does not mention a word about that story. Good? Okay. Says the Gemara Vayter. Amar Abaya, says Abaya, Loi shanu ella. Whenever you have those words, Loi shanu ella, the Gemara is qualifying the words of the Mishnah. Loi shanu ella means that this was only taught ella only in this case. And who are we referring to? We're referring to Shmuel. We're going on Shmuel's case of the sukkah meduvlalas, where the sukkah is going up and down the shade. And he says, Shmuel only said it, she'ein bein zeh lazeh shloisha tvachim, where there isn't between this to this 3 tvachim. If you look at just to jump to the pictures for a second, because I think you need this. If you look at picture on the page Lamed, picture Chaf Aleph, it says, Lo Shanu is talking about a case where you don't have a difference of 3 tvachim in between. You see in the picture it says 2.9 tvachim.
What's your test?
Your test? That was the Mishnah. That was the classic. He's not addressing how large the from one up.
Same thing, Bassa?
Yeah, same thing. But in picture Chaf Aleph is Argamar right now. It's showing you that it's less than 3 tvachim. It's less than 3 tvachim. It's only taught when it's less than 3 tvachim. Okay? So I'm jumping back to the Gemara now. Abai is saying, Loi Shanu, Shmuel only taught this halacha, where the Kana Oila, the Kana Yored works, Ella, in this case. She'ein bein zeh lazeh, that there is no space between this to this, only shleisha tvachim. You only have a gap of up to 3 tvachim. Avol yesh bein zeh lazeh gimel tvachim, but if you have a full 3 tvachim in between, psula, it's pasal. Why? What's the reason? Because there's a famous rule, halacha l'Moshe Sinai. We don't know the reason for it. Don't have a reason, but it was brought down from Hashem to Moshe at Sinai. Something called lavud, and lavud means like closed up. The word means closed up. Anything that is within an airspace of less than 3 tvachim, we look at it as if it's fully closed. Why? Chiddush. It is. So over here, these slats are one up, one down, one up, one down, and we're viewing it like the guy has a whole roof that's fully equal with each other on the same level. It's only that you get this din if you're within 3 tvachim. If you're beyond 3 tvachim, then we're not going to say this rule. It's like nowhere near it. It's way up there. And this sukkah has more sun than shade. The only reason why we're giving it to you that it's kosher is because in din, you taka have a full roof. Maisa, practically, there's still more sun, but in din, you have a roof. You have a din, because within 3 tvachim, we look at every single slat as if they're all together, because it's fully closed up. So it's very interesting that the tzila mube chamasa is in din, a sukkah that has more tzel, even though practically there's not enough tzel. Good. Okay. We'll stop over here by Amar Rava. They do not have a chavrusa today. Tonight you have a chavrusa? Good.
First man, I'm going to say what?